They say 7 people were killed in dozens of shootings and a stabbing. But cops say homicides are actually down about 15% this year in Chicago after hitting a 25-year high last year.
Its deadliest month in almost 15 years. 11 homicides in August, according to police numbers reviewed by Fox News Digital. It also reports more than 100 officers have left the city's police department this year. Let's bring in Jason Rantz, a talk show host at KTTH Radio in Seattle. So, Jason, what's going on there?
We are in the middle of the consequences of a defund and abolitionist movement. They decided over at the council and really at the state level, too, to change a whole bunch of laws, decide that they know more than police do about policing. And what we've seen is a mass exodus of officers and criminals taking advantage of the lax policies. And when you have that intersection, it means, unfortunately, a lot of victims.
Is there an effort to continue this? Is there an effort to move back in the different direction? Where are citizens? Where are voters?
So those are two questions, I guess, because on the one hand, you've got some politicians who are just pretending none of this is happening. You've got a mayor who is involved in trying to get this back in the right direction, but is still facing resistance from the Seattle City Council. Now, from a voter or constituent perspective, it's a little bit of a mixed bag right now. You've got some voters clearly stating when they decided to elect the first Republican to a citywide office in some 30 years, Ann Davison, to Seattle City Attorney. She ran on a campaign of actually going after criminals and actually punishing and jailing them. However, you still have a considerable portion of the population that is just backing the anti-police wing of this council, and they are constantly butting heads. And so we're kind of at a position where nothing really is happening, no significant changes in either direction. And that's obviously a bad sign when we're talking about the amount of crime that's happening.
Now, there's some on the city council who maintain that the real reason that they're having trouble hiring officers is because it's just getting too expensive in Seattle for police officers. How much is that playing into retention?
That is absolute nonsense. It's certainly true that the officers right now are working without a contract and they'd like to see better pay. But that's not the reason why so many officers are leaving. And the one way to find out is to look at the exit interviews, which are all public once you ask for them. And exit interview after exit interview says exactly the same thing. They don't want to work in a city that loathes police officers, that you have council members who are calling them racist murderers. They don't want to work under those circumstances. At the same time, again, you have from the state level, you have Democrats passing laws on policing, for example, a ban on almost every single vehicular pursuit that could actually happen. So that means the bad guys are taking advantage. We've decriminalized drugs, which means the drug dealers are taking advantage. And the officers didn't sign up to work in a city or a state that doesn't allow them to actually do their jobs.
So are people leaving Seattle? What's happening there?
Yeah, so people are leaving Seattle. We had a slight dip, according to the last census. Some of them are moving intrastate, so they're moving to the east side of the state. They're moving to places, frankly, that are a lot more affordable with less crime. A lot of folks are also leaving the state. They're going to Idaho, Texas, Florida. We've seen the numbers sort of bear that out nationwide. We're not seeing a huge exodus at this point, but we are seeing a lot of businesses deciding that they're just going to go across the water into the city of Bellevue, which is about 10 minutes away from Seattle. They have a council and a mayor that is very much pro-business and pro-police. So they're saying, like Amazon, for example, has relocated thousands of jobs to the city of Bellevue. And when you go into downtown Seattle in certain neighborhoods that Amazon used to be active, it's becoming nearly a ghost town. It's starting to correct a little bit, but the crime is very clearly pushing people away.
Jason Rantz, thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks. Appreciate it.